Hi, welcome to all. We'll get started real soon. Thank you for being with us. Hi, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you are in the world. We'll get started real soon. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Morning.
Hi, Steph.
Hello, love. It says my video, I can't start it because you've stopped it. Is
Oh,
that
let
right?
me do that.
Sorry, I tried joining earlier, but I was joining as a panelist. And so I'm like, hey, you're not answering my, I put my hand up and it was,
No
so,
worries.
yeah, so thank
You should
you.
be all set now.
Oh, it's a yellow day. I love it. Talk
I
about
love
not
it.
planning, hey?
I love it. And I think you should be able to share your screen now too, Steph, whenever you're ready.
Sounds good. Let's do it. Can you see?
I sure can.
Yahoo.
Perfect. All right, friends. Welcome, welcome. We'll get started in just a little bit. Hello and welcome. We're still before our webinar is getting started, but a big thanks to those of you who have joined us early from seemingly all over the globe today. We're thrilled that you're here. We're thrilled that Steph is joining us by way of snowy Canada. And I also have some snow today. So we are channeling our yellow and sunshine for the sticky web of student engagement today. As folks come in, please know that you have the chat available to you, as well as a quick poll with just one question to tell us a little bit about you. So if you are from higher education, K through 12, primary, secondary education, corporate, nonprofit agency, or government, we'd love to know so we can tailor questions, comments specifically to you.
Sunny Georgia. Nice. Allow us to live vicariously through you.
Indeed. Hello from Switzerland.
Switzerland.
And
Amazing. Qatar. This is fantastic. Wow. Welcome. España. I love it. I'm hungry. Wow. This is incredible. And from Egypt, we're just in sunny old Calgary, not California. Sunny old Calgary, Alberta here. It's fantastic to see people from all over the world. Incredible.
hello, North Carolina friend. It's so good to see so many familiar names on this list. Thank you for your hellos. I'm Amy Price with Intelliboard. We'll get started in just a minute officially, but tell us about you. There's one question with a poll: higher education, K through 12, primary, secondary, corporate, nonprofit, government. Tell us who you are and we will be able to speak to you and with you all today for the sticky spider web. Perfect. I appreciate you all joining. We have just reached the official time. A big hello to everyone. So thrilled that you are with us today. We'll give folks a few minutes to join us, but I would be remiss not to say, first of all, thank you for joining us across the globe. We're thrilled that you're here with us and that you too recognize that engagement and interventions are crucial to our learning across the world and across different sectors too. So As we have folks join, I wanted to say hello. I'm Amy Price. I work with Intelliboard specifically on our client success team, making sure that you all have the data that you need to be the educators that you are. And I'm thrilled to be wearing yellow, unintentional, I might share, with Steph Kramer today. Steph is a teacher at the Ignite Center for eLearning in Alberta, Canada. Steph and I have a lovely time together all the time, dreaming and brainstorming and thinking through how Intelliboard can support teachers in doing what they do. You all are the hands and the feet for your students, and we're most grateful for all you do. I would also be remiss to say that I told Steph I was going to brag on her yesterday, much to her chagrin, that she is the 2020 recipient of the Prime Minister's Award for Teaching Excellence. So Steph, a big thanks for the work you've done and for sharing it with us today and for letting us be a part of Ignite Story with Intelliboard. So again, thanks. Do tell us about yourself in the remaining poll. And Steph, I will pass it over to you. Just a bit more of housekeeping. Steph and I talked through yesterday. We want this to be as interactive as possible. Throw your questions into the chat. Throw them into the Q&A as we go. Steph and I both get excited, but we promise we'll monitor them and do the best we can to answer those. If you have any questions as a follow-up, I'm also going to drop some contact information into the chat so that you can have it so we can continue the conversation later. So again, Steph, thank you and welcome. And welcome to all of you. And Steph, I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you for the lovely introduction, and thank you to all of you for joining us from everywhere that you are. It's such an incredible honor to be able to be here and to be able to speak to all of you today and share with you some of the promising practices that I have developed in my teaching and learning practice. So today I've called it the sticky spider web because what it is really is it's a web of things. It's not just one or two things that work, right? It's a bunch of things. And so I'm going to present to you some of the things that I'm finding are working for me. And so one of those really big things learning online is that historically it's been really 2D, and anyone that knows me knows that I talk about this a lot, but that 2D learning, right? There's the reading, and then there might be a quiz or an assignment, and that's it, right? And so for me, one of my passions is how do I make online learning more engaging and more interactive and less 2D and more 3D? The technology is there. We just have to figure out how we can use it. And so some of the things that I'm working on is making it more visually aesthetic, right? Instead of having a whole lot of reading, how can we present it? There's still the content is there, but how do we present it in a way that's different? And again, if you have questions, if there's anything that you want to know, and for sharing, we are all open to sharing and vice versa. So if you have something, it's like, oh, I have some really great ideas, please do let us know, because that's what makes us better, is that collaborative sharing. And so anything that you see here today, I'm open to sharing, and vice versa. If you guys have anything, please do bring that because it only benefits our students, right? And that's what we're here for. That's why we do what we do. And so with what you see here, I teach a high school foods course. So I'm a high school teacher. I teach a high school foods course, for example. And what you see is I've created an EatFlix channel. I spent all night thinking about what I was going to call it. And so what students do is when they do their cooking, they have an opportunity to present their cooking through an EatFlix, where they'll put their video into a streaming service, EatFlix, and that will give them an extra credit. So what they can do is they can take pictures of their cooking along the way, and they can get a credit for foods. However, if they present it in an EatFlix fashion, because there's a little bit more work to it, I will also give them a project credit in addition to their foods credit. So it gives students choice on how they want to do the work, and if they want to get more, they can, right? It's not mandatory, but just one of those options. I also teach PE online. How do you teach PE online? I've built a portfolio where students need to take before and after pictures of when before they do their activities and then afterwards. And so what you see here on the bottom right hand side of the screen is a student who is getting ready to go swimming. So they took a picture prior to going swimming, and then they showed, like, this was the activity I did, or here I think he was just doing a walk. So he showed how far he walked, his tracking on his phone. And this shows me that sorry, phys ed, thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. PE is phys ed. So for how active that student is, and then they can track their activities through what they're doing, because I can't ever really be there when they're active, except when they join me online for our synchronous lessons. And in our synchronous lessons, we do yoga. We have guest speakers coming in to run some games and things like that. So making it more interactive, right, online. Another thing that I really want to do is a quick show and tell of my forensics class. What I've done with another incredible mind is we've created a 3D interactive forensic scene. And what this is can everyone see this okay? So it's a crime scene, and what we've done up to this point is we've demonstrated some sort of evidence, like there's blood evidence and trace evidence and hair evidence and fingerprinting and stuff like that. So all of that scaffolding happens before I present them with this crime scene. And then what students can do, instead of looking at a picture and trying to see what the evidence and stuff is, this is a more 3D interactive opportunity for students to be able to scroll around an entire 3D scene where they can look at, and you can hear the birds chirping in the background. That's built into to give it that realism, right? Like they can be there. And then they can zoom in, so you can see something here. There's a little plus sign. They can zoom in and they can actually take a look at the evidence. The evidence is also, so for visual, but it's got a few, little pointers, like look at what the cultivator says, right? So it gives students a more interactive and engaging learning opportunity. So they can take a look at that evidence there. And then what they're asked to do is deduct, right? So they can see there's a bloody fingerprint there. There's a sandal they can zoom into, right? And so my students have done an incredible job with this. They took a look at the scene and they're like, this is what I think happened given how the evidence is laid out. It looks like they tried to escape this way and I would secure the scene. And so it's just so much more in depth, their responses. Like I was just blown away by how they had responded to something as simple as this, right? Again, that more 3D learning opportunity rather than having to look at a picture and deduce what's going on or what happened, right? And so just a really great learning opportunity for students.
And one of
As
the
you can
things
tell,
that
yeah.
Steph and I have talked about before and how this is designed, it doesn't matter. To me, the engagement doesn't matter, and that 2D is relevant across all of the sectors, right? This may be a K through 12 course, but as we all shift so dramatically to virtual, really expanding beyond 2D into 3D aligns with that experiential education that we're all talking about, right? That's the precursor in what we want to do for our students. Let them problem solve, flip that classroom, right? Provide the content through a way that they can explore it on their own. And this goes across everything, right? Even our adult learners who are now responsible for doing that corporate compliance class that you got to used to put them in one room together and you could kind of monitor and force completion. We're all now doing that at home in virtual environments. Or we're in higher education where I used to work with first year students, and the joke was that the difference between a K through 12 student and a higher education student sometimes is 3 months. It's one summer where they haven't really thought about school. And so how do we ensure this level of high touch engagement and high fun engagement across all of these courses? And so I just wanted to make sure that we spoke to each of those sectors there too, and because Steph has done such a good job of making it point and click fun.
Thank you for that. And I really appreciate you creating that tie between higher ed and high school students. I mean, those high school students, you know, will eventually be into that higher ed, but if we can provide that more engaging content, there's no reason why it has to be read, and then do a test, right? How can we have students connect to the content and demonstrate their understanding in a more realistic way, right? Yes, that is that colonial thinking, but that's what we're trying to get out of these days because of the results that we're finding from students with, you know, when we remove them from that and when they have that opportunity to connect or maybe do an Easter egg hunt, like what I've done here in this foods course, you know, if they click on that little piece of the little bag here, I'm going to just exit out of here. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Sorry, folks. So in this there, it's kind of like an Easter egg hunt, right? They have all of the content they need, but it's just presented differently, right? So there's a little video that shows students about kitchen safety. So, you know, videos can say what can be said in words, 1.8 million words, right? In a 2-minute video. So, you know, they're just getting, they're getting that information just differently, right? So click around to learn more about kitchen safety. So there's a bunch of videos that show these students about kitchen safety and that Easter egg hunt. And then their comprehension is checked afterwards. Okay, so what did you learn? Go and show me how to wash your hands properly. Go and show me how to, you know, lift something heavy properly, right? So instead of just asking those questions, show me now, show me how to do these things so that they can connect to the content that they've just learned about so that it's more relevant to them. So career and life management is another course. Again, just really visual, right? It's not just as soon as I look at it, I'm going to shut down, right? And that's really important, especially if we're online, when students can just walk away. How do we keep them here? How do we excite them to be here, right? And so part of my my drive is to figure out how to do that. And so visually, you know, trying to make it more fun. And so again, with the information that I'm presenting to students, we're learning about the dimensions of health, right? Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. And so again, presenting that information just in little bite-sized chunks of information where they'd click on an image, it will take them to emotional well-being. It'll take them to that intellectual well-being rather than having a long page of that information again, where it's just really easy to shut down and, oh, you know, I'll get to this, right? They can choose. I just want to look at that spiritual today. You know, I just want to look at that social. It's more digestible, right? So really important. And another thing that's quite important to me is giving students choice. Right. So this is my psychology course. Again, having that information in just little bite-sized chunks of information, some videos, some reading, and then connecting to real life examples for sure in psychology, right? So Phoebe, I think is her name. Please forgive me. I don't do Friends, but she has a really great
Phoebe,
example. Is that who is?
definitely
Okay.
Phoebe.
Okay, thanks. Like I said, I've never been a huge Friends fan, but it was a great example of cognitive dissonance, for example, in psychology. So connecting to the real world, connecting to the real life, right? How do you, what is it that you're reading and what does it mean in the real world, right? So presenting that information just, you know, in a really visual way where they can, again, connect to it or where it can make sense for them, right? And then again, giving them choice. So asking them about that cognitive dissonance, but all I have to do is choose one of these 6 different options that'll tell me that they understand what cognitive dissonance is. You know, it's not like, you know, describe what cognitive dissonance is. Googleable. That's a Googleable question. We all know what a Googleable question is, right? And I hate that. So how can we get away from Googleable questions, again, to make the students understand and demonstrate their understanding in a meaningful, relevant way? It drives me nuts, Googleable questions. And so all of my questions have intention. And that intention is to make sure that they can't just Google the answer, right? So giving them choice to demonstrate.
One of the
So
things
this
that I
is,
love to
no,
Steph,
go
and
ahead.
again, I'm just going to keep on getting
No, that's
excited,
perfect. Please
but
do. Yeah.
from what you said, it's so in alignment with how we are also seeing the trends towards micro learning, right? These bite-sized nuggets that I can pick up and I can go on the fly. I can absorb it quickly. I can move on. We're seeing an increase, and you can actually see this in Intelliboard reports of where students are spending their time, right? Did they find those Easter eggs? Where do they keep going back to those Easter eggs? where are they choosing to spend their time? And knowing that as an instructor at your fingertips, I think also allows you to say, okay, yes, this is working, right? This visual representation, it's not necessarily that page and scroll doom, but they're going back to and they're spending time here, and oh, they didn't touch this one or they didn't find this one. Do I need to edit it from an instructional design standpoint? But also knowing where the baselines are, right? Like, what does this look like compared to a more traditional setup in the LMS? Is there a higher engagement there? All of these questions then can be answered to then inform the next design of those course to see that increase of engagement. And I totally love the comment too about it's important asserting one social presence facilitator or teacher as we model and how we can see that increased engagement. Absolutely agree. And I think that you can see that in the increase, not only in time, but potentially grade and completion as well.
Great point, Amy. Thank you. Yeah, and I always do keep jumping in there. And then that's just kind of ties into how does what is the role that Intelliboard plays with us and our increased student retention? I mean, Intelliboard plays a crucial role in this partnership of that engaging content, plus those students that haven't had that opportunity yet to really be engaged because, COVID, lack of motivation, I mean, you name it. How do we get them in here? Well, it starts with a phone call. It starts with a text. It starts with a, hey, how are you doing? Right? Let's just check in. You're not in trouble, right? When you get a phone call from your teacher, please know that you're not in trouble. And that's, again, one of those old school thinking of, oh my gosh, my teacher's calling me. But you know what? We're calling you to make sure that you're okay. We're calling you to check in. We're calling you to see how we can help support you, right? We're not calling you to say, right? And so that's where these interventions have just been so, so, so important. Every week since it took us a couple of weeks to get set up with Intelliboard, just because we are a brand new school, but the results have been incredible in terms of getting the data. Now we have it weekly, every morning, on Monday morning, we get it sent to our teachers and sent to the administrators so that they're aware of students that haven't logged in the last 7 days. We don't wait for 28 days. We don't wait to be reactive. Okay. We try and be as proactive as possible with these students because the longer they're out, the longer, the easier it is to stay out. We're just shut down. I'm so behind, which is that language that we're really trying to be careful of using. We try not to say ever that you're behind, right? You are where you are, and we're going to help you because we are a continuous intake, right? So students can start in September, they can start in November, they can start, 1st of December, that continuous intake. And we don't want students to feel behind because that increases anxiety, increases stress, and increases the chance of them just not being successful. So these weekly reports show us the students, the names of students, the courses that they're in, and then it gives us an opportunity as teachers and administrators to reach out to those students and say, hey, haven't seen you around in a week. Is everything okay? What's going on? How can I help you re-engage in your learning? So important for that retention. When we started this, we had 80 inactive students, and our school, again, we've just started out, our school isn't huge. So 80 is a big number. It was a very big number for us. 2 weeks later, after starting those interventions, and again, we had just started them, we dropped to 30 inactive students, which was incredible. But that was because of phone calls, it was because of texting, it was because of reaching out to those students and helping them to re-engage. How can we get you back online? What can we do? It's just, it's just such an incredible turnaround. And this is because of Intelliboard and the information that they've given, to us on that weekly basis. We are teaching in a non-traditional high school. Yes, we are exclusively online, and we teach students all around Alberta. So really good question. Yeah, we're not in a one-room schoolhouse or anything like that, or in one school. We reach students all throughout our province. So great question. Thank you. Needs grading is another I don't know, it's like air at this point. I can't live without it. I can't live without my air, and I can't live without it, the needs grading, honestly. Uh, you have everything in one place, you have every course that you have and every assignment that you need graded right in front of you without having to go course by course. It has been a godsend in terms of time. And as educators, I'm sure you all can relate to the lack of time in a day. And so this has just really, truly been such a blessing to have everything in one place. You don't have to go and poke around. You can see when things were submitted. You can go right to the assignment and grade it from there. It just has been such a fantastic tool for teachers to use. Amy, did you want to jump in here at all?
Sure, I definitely can. For the needs grading, I think it's important to note that this is based through the instructor dashboard, but also in Moodle and then in other learning management systems. You can partition it so that your instructors have these reports at their fingertips. And I think it's Steph and Allison at Ignite have done a really good job of both and, right? This isn't just the administrative work, right? This isn't just reports for administration to take action. While we definitely want administration to have that information to take action upon, it's also empowering the instructors with that data to inform their own practice. So if we were to jump back to the inactive users, and of course, I love that from a retention standpoint. And I think it's important to note that this is emailed, this is scheduled, this is happening without human intervention. This is not necessarily waiting for an instructor to say, oh shoot, and I've been there. I've taught, and it's and that there's no worse feeling in the world than to realize as an instructor that I'm going through and I caught 4, but I didn't catch that 5th because I'm a human and I have multiple hats. But this is not necessarily waiting on me as the instructor to say, you know what, I have a problem with these 4. I'm worried about these 4. They're not, they need some extra TLC. This is, we haven't seen them in the system, right? They haven't been accessing their courses. And so there's a stopgap there that I think is really important, right? That we have this list of students that we can take action on in a really culturally relevant, personable, high touch way with our teachers reaching out. And the teachers can spend their time doing what they love, which is teaching and reaching out in that high touch way. And they don't have to scour for who's potentially missing, right? And so that's happening at the administrative level and the teacher level. But this needs grading report is also available directly to those instructors. And that data is only for those teachers and those students through the instructor dashboard. So as a teacher, I don't see the whole school. I only see my courses and my students. And Steph, I love that the air of the virtual to-do list, right? Like check that right off. I've done that. And again, it is about empowering and giving back time to instructors to design the amazing courses like Steph has designed to improve teaching, right? So if we can make those administrative tasks easier to give back time for teaching, to me, that's what it's all about. And we can certainly help set up the instructor views based off of your needs. Steph, I just get so excited. Thank you.
No, me too. We could be here all day. Allison had said about those relationship pieces, that relationship piece too, which, it's one thing to have pretty looking content. It's one thing to have those reports, but it's another to have that relationship with our students. And so that, again, they trust us, they know that we're calling because we care. And so as, where possible, try to just, get to know a little bit about them, because that is what's going to keep them coming back as well, is having those relationships. And as much as possible, yes, it takes time, But with anything that takes time, the payoff is huge, right? When you can have a relationship with your student, you know them, even if you only know that they're having a rough go of things, at least they know that you're trying to make that effort to get to know them. Even with a pronoun, they, them, you refer to them as a they, them. Even something is, it seems small, but it's something that's so important to so many students, right? So just being aware of and then really trying to develop those relationships. And these interventions help us. Like, it gives us that opportunity to develop those strong relationships with students who clearly need it, right? They need that connection. And so this really helps us with those connections as well.
I knew 30 minutes would fly, Steph, but I wanted to make sure that we gave you some space and then give space for folks in the chat or any questions. You'll find our contact information. I'll also drop some additional links in there, but I'll give it back to you, Steph, for right now. And then as questions come in, please, we'll jump over there.
Yeah, I mean, I think I really appreciate that you all are here today and willing to see some things that we have found that's working. And again, if you have, other things that that are working, please do share them. Again, this benefits our students. And, if you have any questions about anything that you've seen, or if you want to know more, please do reach out to us. We are the Ignite Center for eLearning. We are a new online school here in Alberta, reaching and trying to support all students throughout Alberta. And so just, that opportunity to give students a quality learning opportunity where maybe they hadn't had that in the past. And so please do go ahead and feel free to ask questions, thoughts, reactions, reflections. Again, I thrive on those reflections. So, if there's anything, please do feel free to reach out to myself or Amy.
Absolutely. And I dropped some quick links in the chat for everybody. Jay, thank you. Good stuff from our northern neighbors. Thanks for sharing. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing and being with us today. And I think, as we said before, the engagement and the intervention, that is something that while the sector may be different, while the age of the student may be different, the engagement in our digital courses and online world, and then the intervention when either through instructional design or as a high touch practice is what we want to do to be continuously mindful of the education that we're providing, the education that we're facilitating, and therefore the education that we then seek to improve. So again, thank you, Steph, for being with us today. As always, Intelliboard is here to explore your data needs with you. Nothing gives me more joy than to be curious about that and to see how we can help educators. So again, Steph, thank you. And thank you all for joining us today. We'll stick around for questions and comments. Randy, thanks for your comment. Absolutely. It is a tool to improve, to learn, to bolster, to empower. And Steph and the Ignite team has done that, and we're excited to celebrate it. Magda, thank you. Cheryl, thank you. Again, so good to see so many familiar faces today and new faces as well. Enjoy the rest of your day. And again, thanks. Stick around just a little longer. Take good care, all. See you. Thank you.